All right. Okay, everybody, welcome to a special edition of Andy Hoffer Coaching Masterclass. We are talking about manifestation and astrology today, and we have a very special guest, Kenya Riley, and she's going to introduce herself in a second. I just want to make sure that we are all kind of caught up. That we've got all the administrative stuff like out of the way. So this is a 7-part series where we're talking about the North Node and South Node. If you don't know what your astrological pairing is, I'm going to put it in the chat box right now. And for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, there's going to be some QR codes that we're going to be sharing on the screen. You could follow those and find out what yours are. In the chat box and in the show description, I'm also putting the dates where Kenya's going to be co-hosting these lectures with me, which is so exciting because we're going to go through all of them. And I highly encourage you to attend them because you know people in all of these pairings. Like it's not just for you in your soul curriculum, as we like to call it, but also look up your partner, look up your children, look up your boss if you're feeling frisky and you know their date of birth, because that's really all it takes to know what this is your date of birth. And I highly encourage you to attend. And if you can't, these are going to be delivered to your inbox and, you can catch the replay on YouTube. We are super excited about that. And let's see. So who am I? My name is Andy. I've been a conscious manifester since the first grade, but as we all know, we're manifesting from the moment we are born. But consciously, I started doing that since the first grade. I realized that the things that I thought became real and just have been honing that craft my entire life. I've been a manifestation coach since 2019, right before COVID hit. Like, what a time to change careers, huh? So I've been doing this, and Kenya and I, we met at a retreat, and let me tell you, the magic in our friendship has been so real that I just had to have her do this with me. So without further ado, I want to invite Kenya up on stage here. So I'm going to pin you, and we're going to go right ahead and unmute.
I unmuted myself. I did it ahead of you.
Amazing. Kenya, please welcome and share with everybody a little bit of your magic.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so excited, Andy. When you first proposed this to me, I was like, anytime I could talk about astrology, I'll do it. I love it. I love it so much. And so I'll just kind of introduce who I am for those, who don't know who I am, what my background is. I'll get to the astrology in a moment, but I kind of tell people, I'm everywhere I go, I do healing work. And so my day gig, what I mostly do during the day, I work at a university. So I'm an assistant professor and newly appointed assistant dean of wellness and student development. So that is my passion, is all things wellness. So it's not something, I do this. I talk to my students about astrology. They know, go to, Professor Riley and she'll do your chart. So it's a really cool space to be able to offer that in that space. But the other side of the lens is, yes, I do astrology. I consider myself an astrology guidance coach. I'm not a kicks and giggles. I'm not just gonna stick on your sun sign. It's really about how do we start learning how to use astrology for understanding ourselves, for understanding our relationships and all the things. And we'll get more into that as we talk about this topic. But yeah, I'm that. And then I'm also a certified Reiki practitioner. So it's really cool. I try to combine Reiki and astrology. It's fascinating, actually, what I can see kind of with the Reiki in conjunction with the astrology. Especially with the North Node that we're going to talk about, because I can see a lot of that energy during Reiki sessions. And then I also am a certified holistic wellness coach. So everything healing. I was an artist. I left all of this for many years to perform and do music full time. So I was a touring vocalist, jazz soul vocalist for many years. And then COVID came, to your point. So COVID came and shut down the arts pretty severely, actually, because couldn't tour, couldn't perform. And it's really what allowed me to dig back into these other parts of healing. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so grateful that you shared all of that because a little known fact for everyone, Kenya and I are actually opposite North Node, South Nodes. And so a lot of her life and my life actually mirror each other, where she was very heavily into the arts. I was very heavily into the science, but yet we both come together with the healing part. I'm also a Reiki practitioner. And so this was just absolutely kismet that we met. And so with that, I think let's dive right in because you talk about the sun sign, and most people come to astrology knowing their sun sign. They're like, "Oh, I'm a Capricorn. Like I'm the most Capricorn you've ever met, right?" And but we're going a level deeper than that. In my opinion, it's a level deeper than that. So let's begin to differentiate, what the sun sign is versus what the North Node and South Node are on your chart.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I say mainstream astrology, even some people, when I say sun sign, they're like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, that's just your sign. That's what you've been walking around and people ask you, oh, what's your sign? That's your sun sign. And that's just saying that's the position the sun was in the moment you were born in terms of the zodiac sky. So, but the sun sign is we technically have a sign for every planet and every placement and every asteroid and every celestial body because they're all sitting up in the universe, and the zodiac sign is also symbolically out in the universe. So the big difference is our sun sign is where we shine. I tell people, what does the sun do? Think about all the things the sun does. That is energetically, astrologically what it is. So that's where we shine. That's where we radiate. And a step a little bit deeper, it's a lot of people who will say, well, I don't really connect to my sun sign. That's why I don't believe in astrology. Well, there's many reasons why that can happen because you do have all of these other placements. And actually, your sun sign is your soul's kind of persona. It's kind of saying, this is what I hope in this iteration, in this incarnation, to really personify. And that's why it is connected a lot to our personality and those types of characteristics. But some people never connect to their persona, right? Some people never really step into that. And depending on where your sun sits in your chart and what house it sits in, and that gets a little bit more layered, that's another reason why you may or not feel it. But the North and South Node, like you just said, goes much deeper. Many people are like, what? People who don't fully follow astrology would never probably hear about it because you don't really hear a lot of people talking about the North and South Node. But those who actually start to dig into their chart and learn things, they're probably, it's, to me, the North Node is kind of the point of why our soul decided to come back to do. And I want to say about come back, because some people may be like, what do you mean come back? This is really critical to understand about North and South Node. Astrology is making this assumption that our soul is eternal, right? That it's never cut off. It has a variety of experiences in a variety of dimensions in a variety of ways. It's energy. It can't, if we know science, energy can't be killed. Like, energy just shifts to a different form. So in astrology, me, Kenya, this is, yes, I'm one time as Kenya, but the soul of Kenya has many lifetimes. And so the South Node is more indicative of more of past life energy, whereas the North Node is more indicative of where the soul in this lifetime is really trying to move toward. That's the big kind of ba-dum-bum of why that's so important. And it's important to think of that because, and we'll go in this more because I know you're going to ask more questions. Astrology has this way of kind of doing this constantly, like this. If you can just always think there's like a high we're going to, but then there's this other part of us that's pulling us this way. And the North Node and the South Node is probably the biggest way of showing kind of this opposite effect that we have in our lives. All of us are experiencing highs and then a lot of times drastic lows. And what we're trying to do right often is not just get stuck on the highs and obviously not get stuck in the lows, but how do we moderate And so that's what's really beautiful about the North Node and South Node. It's trying to pull us toward our purpose or manifestation or that thing that we just envision for ourselves. But it doesn't want us to lose fully
Yeah.
what the South Node is. It wants us to learn how to integrate. So that's a basic definition.
Oh, I love it. And just for those who may not know, those who are just kind of new to astrology, you mentioned that the sun sign is the position of the sun in the sky when you were born. But what exactly are the north and south node? Are those planets? Are those asteroids? Like, what are they in terms of your astrological chart that maybe we can sort of envision?
Right. Yeah. So they're not celestial bodies. They're just considered, it's almost like you wouldn't be able to go in the sky. There's the North Node. That's not how it works. They're just points, basically. And it gets a little bit more into the science of astrology of how basically how the sun and the earth and the moon are all kind of connected to each other. And so it's a point. You wouldn't be, it's not a planet. So, but it's a very important point because, like I said, it's a point within this whole, I guess, spectrum of this experience that we're having that's trying to guide us and move us toward our purpose and what we're trying to release. The South Node is what we are trying to release in this lifetime. And so, yeah, they're not actual planets. They're just
Okay.
a point.
Okay. Just want to conceptualize this for people because, again, we're exposing these people to new concepts, but the really important ones, in my opinion, especially when it comes to manifestation and how they play into, you know, what it is that we're trying to do on this planet. So I'm so excited that you mentioned that. So let's dive right into the North Node. The North, actually, I'm going to switch it up. Let's start with the South Node because the South Node for me, I think, is like the point to start in terms of what we're familiar with. And maybe you can get more into that because from my understanding, South Node is the comfort zone. So let's start with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who are new to astrology and you're looking at your chart and like, well, where is it? The North Node and the South Node. The North Node is a symbol that looks like a headphones. And the South Node always is exactly opposite of your North Node. So some charts, depending on, like if you're looking at a visual chart, some charts don't show necessarily the South Node. They won't have the symbol. Some do. But the symbol is an upside down headphone for the South Node. And so I think that's kind of funny too, that it's an upside down, whereas, so the South Node. So this is the thing, to your point, it is absolutely our comfort zone, but it's not our comfort zone just to be our comfort zone. It's our comfort zone because it's an energy that we have mastered in some type of previous iteration of the soul. Okay. And so this is why, you know, so this can feel esoteric for people, particularly people who haven't really investigated or explored this idea of past lives. But astrology, and it's not so much I want people to get caught up in that as much as this soul is continual. It's continual. It's continual. And so it's had many experiences, many opportunities for, I mean, just in dimensions and realms that we don't even probably know about. But the energy of whatever our South Node is, it's an energy that we've mastered, we've connected to, and that's why it feels so comfortable in this lifetime. But this lifetime, as magnificent as this whole divine whatever process thing is, this lifetime is how can we learn how to release our comfort zone? And this is really, you know, we hear it all the time, like, oh, we have to be comfortable with getting uncomfortable. Yes, like literally. So the South Node, but it's not about releasing and getting out of the comfort zone to the point where it's gone. That's not the point. There in astrology, there's high frequency kind of vibration of every astrological placement. And then there's this more stagnant energy that doesn't really push us to our biggest expansion. It's there to kind of create the contrast. So we're being asked to release more of the lower frequency aspects of that comfort zone and move and grab the things that are really high vibrational about wherever that South Node is and integrate it so we can get moved toward the North Node.
Yeah, as I understand, South Node is like the version of us that we got really good at. Like we
Yep.
don't have to think about it. We don't have to practice it. We don't have to, it's just innate. And even the little personality, like I'm sure you've seen babies and they have little personalities. Like that's just who they are. And as they continue to grow up, they kind of just, blossom more into those aspects. And yet, one of the challenging things about manifestation is what is that asking us to do? Why would we lean into our best qualities and take away some of the other qualities? Like we just believe, hey, this is who I am, this is how everything should kind of come into my life, and kind of having that like stagnant thought of, oh, that's just who I am. It really limits us in our world and what we can expand into. But can you explain a little bit more about how, the South Node, even though it's our comfort zone, like you talked about a little bit about how there are, the high vibration frequencies of some of our personality traits, but then there are the low ones. How can we, and maybe you've talked to your clients about this, but like, how can we start to reframe the idea that like, I need to change? Because a lot of people want to manifest without the idea of change. It's like, this is how I am, and I should still get the cash and prizes, right?
Yeah, this is really layered. This is an excellent question, and it's extremely layered. And I say that because the South Node is a subconscious wiring. This is why it feels so innate. Like you said, a lot of it. So it feels like, no, this is just who I am. This is just how I know. But you have to remember, us being here is a journey. It's not. We're not here to experience oneness. We're here to have a very dynamic, expansive, very, very much different than what we're taught. Like there's not this finish line actually the whole point is the journey. So if we stay constantly in something that is just I am, then we're actually not doing the journey. We're actually not doing the whole point of being here. And a lot of what's tricky about this is in our society, we're not talked about conditioning. We're not talking about wiring. We're just starting to have those conversations, I think, in the more mainstream space. And I think depending on people's values, belief systems, and so forth, they may or may not resonate with that. Obviously, if you're watching this, you probably resonate with that. But it is this idea of change when we look at it in a more soul capacity and we look at it astrologically. That's the point. Change is actually the goal. It's actually why our soul said, hey, let's try this again. Let's come back and do it in this way, with these types of supports and relationships, with these types of opportunities and challenges, these types of losses and gains, and see how this experiment can kind of go this time. So that idea of it's just who I am, we have to really get more curious about this idea of who I am, because there's a level of conditioning of who I am that our families place on us, communities place on us, society place on us. And this is why I love astrology. It helps us start to peel back what is and what was conditioned. And while the South Node is not so much of a conditioning, it's a wiring, it's like a memory pad from a previous kind of energy that we've mastered. It is, though, still being asked, hey, yeah, we know we have this wiring, but you have some other wiring too. So let's see if we can start to get more curious. And in astrology, everything's going in cycles. Astrology is the study of cycles, really. That's cycles of nature and how nature impacts us. We know spring, fall, winter, summer. That is all very aligned with astrology without going heavy into that. But it is very cyclical. So it's not this one shot, let me just go for the North Node. There's certain cycles that push us to get more curious about our North Node. And so every 18 years, we go through what's called a nodal return. So it's just like our birthday every year. The sun comes back in the position of the day we were born, right? So we're like, oh, I'm a Cancer if you're born right now because it's in Cancer season. Well, every planet has a similar cycle. Everything is just moving at a different rate. So for the north and south nodes, their cycle is every 18 years it revisits its point. So if you think
Mm.
about this, every 18 years, and think about the age 18, we graduated from high school. And what happens when we're graduating? And when it's like, oh my God, am I going to college? Am I going to work? Am I going to stay at home? Am I going to move? Am I going to keep this boyfriend that I had for, the past 3 years in high school? There's these questions, right? Of should I go toward? What should I move toward? And
Mm-hmm.
that's really what the North and South know. They're giving you a dance because you're comfortable. Yeah, I'm comfortable. I could stay home. I know mom. I could, my friends are all here. But there's something in me that's saying I should experience something different. That I should, and then if that doesn't work, okay, then I'll come back to what's comfortable. So that's our first nodal return. And it's pretty loud because it's our first time asking this big question and this big separation, right? That starts to happen. Like I may have to leave my literal comfort zone. In fact, I kind of want to at that point. And so every 18 years, it's so 36, it pops back again. So any of you who are that mid 30s age, around 35, 36, 37, you're probably like, so what am I doing? Like, is this the job I really want? Is this the relationship I really want? Am I happy? Like that's that kind of natural, the way nature is trying to kind of support you in being willing to think of your life beyond that comfort zone. It naturally does that. And then it pops back again at 54, which that's where I'm going to be. I promise you it's so crazy because astrology is a mirror. It doesn't make us do anything. It's just reflecting what's already happening. And I'm in a nodal. I'm about to start soon. I'm not in it yet, but it's going to be coming soon, a nodal return. And so I can already start to feel some of the things of like, and this is why retirement,
Yeah.
55 to 60, we start thinking, wait, what's my next thing? So it naturally is guiding and helping. We just have to stay attuned to that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because when I think it's like, yeah, when I was 36, 37, that's when I transitioned to a coach. And that was when I was like, hey, yeah, we're getting out of engineering and we're moving on to what really is calling me.
Yes.
Because you're right in so many ways that we are spiritual beings having this human experience that we are definitely here to experience in different ways and facets, what all that life can offer us and what we can transform into. A lot of the studying that I've been doing has been surrounded by transformation, surrounded by overcoming the fears of your comfort zone. Like, what does it mean to be seen? What does it mean to be worthy? What does it mean to, go out into the unknown and really be more expansive rather than just staying in that little bubble that we know and love and are so comforted by. And I think something to also point out is that sometimes, the South Node in our comfort zone, they oftentimes don't feel good, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not familiar. We can often stay in familiar situations, even if it's hurting us, even if it's keeping us stagnant, even if ultimately it's not what we want because it is so familiar. Absolutely. And so part of my work is to piece apart the familiar versus the destination versus what's serving us versus what's not serving us and pushing us into a different realm of, okay, what is possible? It's not, and I never advocate for like complete 180 turns, like, go quit your job, divorce your husband, take the dog, like that's not what I have experienced in terms of working with my North and South Node. It's always been the curiosity, as you say, on, let me dive deeper into who am I, what's really operating underneath everything that I'm doing, because I want to enhance it, not because I want to penalize it, not because I want to use it as a way to beat myself up even. I want to use it as a way to see, okay, what is possible if I, just tweak a little bit here? What can I do? What can I achieve?
Yeah. And I always say, North and South Node is a much more gentler and reflective,
Yeah.
introspective type of energy, because it takes so long. It's 18 years, so it's not a quick energy at all. And I always try to tell, we've got plenty of other planets that do much more radical things to get us to move into position. But the North and the South Node aren't technically, they're not the radical pushers and the more aggressive and hardship. It doesn't carry that kind of energy, but it does carry a very much of a quiet, subtle, retrospective, reflective, my whys. Because it's connected to the moon, and our moon is very much our internal sense of like who we are. When we hear about we go through like eclipses, you hear about that. Those eclipses happen on the nodes, and so that's why energetically to have that like eclipsed, it's like a bit of a kind of a jolty kind of thing, because it is trying to pull us in, and when it gets eclipsed, it's something that can kind of set us and release. That gets a little bit deeper on eclipses, but I did want people to understand. Sometimes people, if you ever are starting to get scared when you hear astrology, you're not listening to the right astrology. That should not, it is not a scary situation. Astrology doesn't look at good and bad. It's not South Node is bad, North Node is good. That's not how that works. Astrology is really attempting to get us to really understand. I see Julie's comment. Yeah, to really understand energetically our power and those areas of our comfort and those areas of our innovation. It's not, and so if there are, certain planets like a Pluto or a Saturn, you will hear, especially Saturn gets such a bad rap. It gets a horrible, we have to do a series on Saturn. It gets a really bad rap. And because they're like, oh, it's my Saturn return. Oh, Saturn is, or Mercury retrograde. It's like, you guys, I promise you, there's nothing, yes, Saturn is a boss, and Saturn is saying, hey, are you like, you're a Capricorn, Saturn rules Capricorn. So it's like, hey, am I getting myself together? But the North Node and the South Node is much more reflective energy. And so I just want you all, as you're thinking about this and you're thinking about purpose and manifestation, we need time for these things. We have to reflect on ourselves. We have to understand, and we want to use our South Node, because our South Node is what really allowed us to survive and to make it through these different things we've had to go through in the earlier part of our lives. But we are being asked to, to grow from that and to expand from that, and not to stay stagnant.
Yeah. And so I think this is a great point to start discussing what the North Node is, because now that we've established what we're familiar with, now that we've established, when you research into what your South Node is, and, start looking at not only the patterns that you currently have perfected in this life and in the previous life, but also what is it that we're asked to be stretched into. So let's transition into North Node, because for me, this is like the juicy bits. This is the part where I was like, I get so excited about
the juice. Yes. And I'll say one more thing quick for the South Node. It is about release too, guys. So it is also asking us, that's a big lesson that the South Node, not only for us to shift, but also release and let go. And that's the other tricky part, right? How do we let go of what's comfortable? It's one thing to move forward, it's another thing to let go. But we have to make space. We have to the let go is about making space so that we can move into this North Node. So the North Node, I was so happy to see that you are doing this. I was so excited to see that you're talking about manifestation from a North Node perspective, because that's like the point. It's really, it can feel like a teaser inside of us, like the thing that we want to manifest, or the things that we're like, I really want my life to move in this direction. I really want to experience this. For me, that's a big question I'm asking when I'm meeting with people, because the North Node can give you so much guidance on that and give you so much affirmation toward that. And so just as an example, and we're going to go through, if your North Node is in Gemini, if your North Node is in Aries, all that, we're going to do that in our series. But I also, one of the other things is looking at where the North Node sits in your chart, what house it sits in. And so this is another layer, but I want to bring it up because The houses in astrology, which are the little triangles, if you're looking at your chart, it's the little triangles. In astrology, it's looking at 12 different parts of your life, okay? 12 critical parts of how we navigate this human experience. And what house your north node sits in is really also very special, because that gives you a clue of what part of your life is this going to really show up. And so energetically, we're going to be going through the series talking about, what a north node in Libra means versus a north node in Aries and all of that. But I also, and we'll talk later how you can connect, to me, if you're like, well, okay, it's in that triangle that says 4, like, what does that mean? But that's another really important, but it's look at that. It's helping. It's narrowing this down so that you don't have to feel like, oh my God, like I need to manifest everything's at once. No, like it's actually guiding you to say, hey, and you're already going to feel it. You're going to naturally feel it, but it gives kind of that confirmation. Oh, it's this part of my life that I'm really going to experience more of that pull, and where I may be able to manifest a bit more of those things that I'm feeling. So yeah, the North Node is about purpose. To me, it's the whole point. Mm-hmm. We're working here. We have all these other placements in our chart, and we have all these relationships and conditions in our lives to help move us toward the North Node, because the North Node is kind of this ultimate. Some people want to say, oh, that's the career you go in. Not necessarily. It's really an energy that you're ultimately trying to experience and accomplish. And one of the things I will ask when I'm doing astrology guidance readings, when I'm first time meeting with someone, I won't say, oh, what's your purpose? Because that can feel like, I don't know, what is my purpose? That's why I'm here with you. It's like, but I will ask people, what do you like dream about? Like, what do you like, when you think about your life in 10 years, like what are you hoping by 10 years from this point? I hope I sure do experience blah. Because that's more, the North Node is like, what am I hoping and what am I wanting and desiring to experience and to accomplish? And it may not be related to my career. It may not be related to my kids. It may not be related. It's really for you. And that's the other really special thing about the North Node. It is for you specifically, and however, for you to be able to experience it. So super special energy. First place I look at, one of the first places when I'm working with the clients, I want to see where the North Node is.
Oh, that's amazing. Because in the work that I do, I ask the same question, but in a different way. I ask them, in one sentence, what are you trying to manifest? And then we work from there, because most people don't know what they want to experience. Most people don't really know what it is. Why am I trying to manifest this? Why is this in my life? Why is this desire or this fear so big in my life? And what is that reflecting in me, and how can I actually attain it? And so doing the work in the North Node, to me, has always signified, okay, we have our comfort zone here, but the North Node is asking us to expand in this area, to stretch it with these feelings, whether it's worthiness or whatever it is, but like asking us to expand beyond that. And it's never like, oh, well, you feel fear because of abandonment here. Well, you need to feel trusting for everyone. And it's like never like that direct. It's always like, well, you also need to feel like softness and ease, and like, how does, like, what is that? How do they correlate to one another? But they do. And so trying to like get that out of people, because most people, I think, are very and this is kind of going into my little woo-woo soapbox here, but a lot of people are stuck in the 3D, thinking that what we're experiencing here is the reality of what is actually happening. And so when we're looking at what is it that I want, we think it's the material things. It's the money, it's the partner, it's the car, it's the job, it's the purpose, it's the whatever it is. But when you start to dig in deep and say, why, you get to that core essence of what is it that you really want to feel? Is it safety, security? Is it love? Is it passion? Whatever that is, that's behind the physical manifestation of it. To me, that's what the North Node is symbolizing. That is like the direction that we're headed in. That is the experience that we want that's going to ultimately manifest the physical things and the cash and the
Absolutely.
prizes.
You said it perfect. That's exactly what it is. It's trying to get us into the other inner layer of ourselves energetically. And so some people, this can get tricky because we're making this sound so simple. But what makes this all very tricky, and this is why I recommend people actually, at a minimum, do an astrology reading while they're also doing their coaching and their therapy and everything, because in your chart, depending on how the other planets are placed and talking to your north node, or sitting near your north node, or away from your north node, is going to color that journey of that north node as well. And so one of the things, that can happen, and I'm not going to put anybody in the spot, but I do have one of my clients here in this space, and and so we've talked about this. It can be tricky when your north node is sitting in a place of the chart where, particularly like if it's right next to your sun sign or something like that. Like if your north node is the same as your sun sign, it's like, well, I am. That's my persona. I'm already there. I'm it. And it's like, no, no, no. I always know if the north node, there's an aspect of self that there's, to what you just said, there's another inner line of that energy that the self is trying to really connect to and hold to. And I say, when we have kind of tricky placements with our north node, like if you're still like, okay, I hear this, I feel this, but I don't know, like I have this barrier, whatever it is, I always know, oh, that just means there's something else in your chart that's coloring that, which means there's another lesson to this. There's another layer to this. And I have a tricky, I'll just put myself on the spot. I have a very tricky north node placement. And it's taken me, and I still am like, so because my north, I mean, we're the opposites here. So my north node is in Capricorn. And so south node, that means my south node is in Cancer. North and south nodes are always in the sister signs. Okay, so we'll get into that more when we go through the series. You got to come back. But so Capricorn, I'm striving to be like Andy. Okay, so this whole point of trying to have that Capricornian sense of accomplishment. But this is my trickster for me. My north node is sitting right by my moon, so I have a Capricorn moon, which means I relate a lot to Capricorn stuff because the moon and the node is apart, kind of is very connected. But it's what's interesting is there's aspects of my Capricorn moon that is a lower frequency, and I can see it now more where my north node is trying to pull me out of that and to use the energy, not the things, but use the energy to propel me. And Capricorn is a very accomplishment energy, period. It's already that's what it is. So, but I have a south node in Cancer, and Cancer is attachment. But how do I feel? But do I care? Does anybody look at me? Does anybody need me? Like, and Capricorn's like, get that, girl. No, come on. We need to go. We need to be a boss. And so my lesson of this is, okay, you can be a boss and not emotionally get so attached to certain kind of ways. And what I've learned is, oh, that's why I'm a Capricorn moon, is trying to help me with that detachment to a certain degree. So it's very fascinating. It's lots of layers, but I did want people just to understand that sometimes, depending where the north node is sitting, and you need an astrologer typically to kind of help unpack this, it may be a little bit of a trickster. I don't want to say that it's like, oh, that's, I suck. My north node is in a bad, because that's how you'll feel too. You'll start learning your chart like, oh, why do I have this? This is so hard. And it's like, yeah, it's wanting to push you. And the more often, to me, this is Kenya. I don't want anybody to say, oh, I believe that the more of those tricksters we have in our chart it's to me more evidence of how many iterations you've probably done this, how much more karma you're trying to release, how much more ancestral healing and generational shifting you're doing in this lifetime. And so it can feel a little bit more contrasty. And sometimes that north node, while a really beautiful energy that we're wanting and we're desiring, can be challenging, can be extremely challenging to reach.
Yeah. And if we're putting ourselves out there, so my sun sign is Capricorn, and obviously my south node is Capricorn. Again, everybody, she and I, we're mirrors of one another. Like it's so wild.
Yeah.
Even I think our parents have the same signs,
Yes,
right?
our parents have the same signs.
Yeah,
Both Gemini
Gemini,
and
Leos,
Leo.
right?
Yes. Crazy. Okay, go ahead.
Like so yeah, like, and I said this at the beginning, I'm like the most Capricorniest Capricorn that you've ever met in your life, because I have something like 3 or 4 planets in Capricorn and another
You
2 in
guys say,
Sagittarius. Like it's heavily focused on that. So my south node, which is my comfort zone, is super comfortable. Like that, like I am like holding on to that identity for dear life in so many aspects. But the other side of it is, the accomplishment, the go get them, the drive to do more is so innate to me. But it's how can I receive? It's not about how can I just like not do anything. It's about how can I receive and still feel that worth behind it. So it's not so simple as just like don't be a Capricorn, like stop doing that. Like, that's not
That's not
like
it, especially because you're a Sun Capricorn. So you're this. So you have a trickster. That I consider that a trickster because you've got your Sun sitting at your South Node, and so much of how you have identify, because our Sun sign is how we identify very much so, and so it's like, how am I being asked? This is who I identify as. How? What do you mean I'm needing to release? And it's like, yeah, but let's release. Well, to your point, let's receive, because
yeah.
Cancer is the North Node. And because Cancer, and woof, it's tricky. It's tricky, North Node Cancer. It is, because all of us, we live in a society where receiving is very judgy. Like the
Oh
fact of
yeah.
letting people take care of you and feeling pampered, and you take caring of yourself above everybody else. What? Like that is not it's not an energy that we've been very conditioned to think that that's selfish, or
Yeah.
to think that that is, you're being, too into yourself, you're too needy for your, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's a tricky place to say, oh, I aspire, I'm moving toward a North Node of care, and
Yeah.
care for self first, and then
Yes.
care for others. Yeah.
Yes. I'm a strong, independent woman and I don't need anyone. But also wanting to be passenger princess, like wanting to be taken every, it's like those two parts of me are warring with one another. And
Yeah.
it's very prevalent in my life right now. But yeah, and what I have found, and as I look over the course of my life, as I started this entire talk with, how I've been manifesting consciously since the first grade, I know that when I want something, I have to allow it to come into my life. I can't pull it into my life. I have to just allow, I have to receive that energy to come in. And that is like, okay, if I'm not manifesting something, I'm definitely like blocking it with some sort of energy. So these pairings are very important by way of learning how your manifestation style is going to not only be stronger, faster, but more powerful, because these are the ways in which we're playing out our personalities and the way that we process information and the desires that we have in our life. And this soul curriculum, as we've been calling it, is exactly that. You have a
Yeah.
desire because your soul knows it's meant for you, but this soul curriculum is exactly how you're going to get it.
Absolutely. And I want to add this, and I know we want to be able to take questions here in a moment. You said something really important. How are we blocking ourselves? And so this is a really wonderful way to work with your South and North Node. Typically, the block is sitting in that South Node somewhere. That South Node is because it's trying to protect you. It's not because it's bad. It's not because it's doing how literally your nervous system is literally wired to move. Our South Node is very much how we had to grow up, how we had to accomplish whatever we did in the earlier parts of our life. It's got a very specific point. And so when we're moving to the North Node and when we're wanting certain things, I always tell people, if you want to use astrology to kind of be able to look at this and see it a little bit better, or see it from another lens, go look at that south node, because that south node is probably doing a little bit of something to protect what it thinks to protect you. But in fact, it's asking, hey, can we learn how to integrate this better? Can we learn how to use our discernment? Can we learn how to understand when we need to let go, when we need to move forward? A lot of this life lesson and soul curriculum is about discernment. It's a huge, massive skill, is learning when to let go, when to move, when to stop, when to be still, when to run faster, when to all of that. And so the south and the north node are a great way that I know that I use it with clients, but even for myself, my south node being Cancer, I know if I'm getting too emotionally attached to something, or I'm thinking too much about, well, how will they feel? And how will I feel if I do this? Like, I'm like, that south node trying to protect me. So let me go with my thought. Let me trust my mind. Let me trust, you're welcome, Julie. Let me trust who I understand myself that I'm wanting to be, and not just go so heavy into how I feel, because my south node is Cancer. So I'm very led by how I feel. But don't let go of the beautiful intuition that Cancer affords. It's extremely intuitive. It can feel, it can nurture in a way that it is the nurturer. It is that. And so don't lose that aspect. But if I'm getting too attached to the emotions of the situation, I know in this lifetime, I'm being asked to trust more of my thinking, which is the Capricorn.
Right, right. And I also think that we should point out that, whatever pairing it is that you have, whatever, whether it's Aries, Gemini, Capricorn, whatever it is, it's not going to look the same person to person either. It's very much like you said, it's dependent on the house, which area of our life it's really prevalent in. For me, it's money, it's relationships. Those are the two. But for other people, it might be purpose. It might be family. It might be sociologically, community. It might be in your appearance. It might be in so many different ways that it can manifest, that it's really important to not just say, oh, because my North Node is Capricorn, that's how it's going to play out in every single area of my life, because in some areas it might be stronger, some areas it might be weaker, so the energy of it changes. It's very dynamic from person to person. So even though I say that me and Kenya are opposites, like on the with our pairings, that doesn't mean that like hers is like more powerful or mine is weaker or mine is like, it's never like a 1-for-1 when it comes to even people who have the same one. So I just want to like, say that, maybe when you're reading on my website, like you've done your pairing and you see it and you relate to it, maybe 10%. And you're like, okay, but this is my pairing. Like, why don't I connect with it? Some people might be like, every single word is dead on. That's okay. It's the piece of us that we're working with. It's the piece of us that we're trying to bring out. And so I just wanted to bring that up too.
Yeah, that's super, super important. I mean, and that's, that's what's so beautiful about your birth chart. It's your fingerprint, really. Like, it's your blueprint of how you are going to experience that energy. And I really encourage, continue to come to these series, because we're going to dig into the signs. But really, if you have a child or a partner or a parent or anybody in your life that you're really trying to, you're wanting to understand, it's such a great thing to just be able to look at their north and south nodes, because especially, I know I'll say this real quick. I have two sons, two children, two boys, because I know son and son sound the same. Okay, anyway, but SON, I have two sons. And one of my children, his north node he has the same north node sign as my husband. Now, this is very interesting. And my husband is not his dad. Okay. So this is like a stepfather, but it's so compelling, because they're both after this. And I see it on the 20-year-old level. And then I see it on the 57-year-old level. And it's amazing to me, but it's helped me so much in supporting them, because I know their north node. So I know when they're getting stuck in their south, because I can see it. Of course, my astrology brain, I can see it. And it really, it's not that I'm going in to save the day, that Cancer South Node in mine. No, it's not that, but I'm aware. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, they, because they've got a North Node, and we're going to talk about this the next time we meet, North Node in Aries, which is, woo, I'm trying to be a boss in my own life. And I see it. And so, as you guys are hearing this, really those people who are connected to us, if it's a sibling, if it's, like I said, a partner, or anybody that's in our kind of immediate circle, is super. It helps give you grace, helps give compassion. So that's the other beautiful part of astrology, is it gives us compassion for ourselves, but also these people in our lives. And so that
Yeah.
we can see why people may be struggling to get to a certain point in their life, why they might be having a more difficult time releasing certain parts, the things that they need to release. It really puts some context to things. It doesn't necessarily make it like, oh, everything is fine because they've got that, but it gives you context and compassion. And obviously the first compassion for yourself.
Yes, yes, Kenya. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I want to transition into Q&A, but before I turn off the recording, I do want to remind everybody in YouTube land and those of you who are here, click on the link to find your North and South Node pairing. Join us for the series. I know we've got July 16th. That's today. July 23rd is Aries Libra. August 13th is Taurus Scorpio. August 27th, we got Gemini Sagittarius. And then we're booking the other three, in the next coming weeks. So, still join us for those, because we've got people in our lives who have these pairings, and, digging in deeper into them. Maybe, like you said, we can have a little bit more compassion, a little more insight into our relationships, into the way that we interact with them, and how we navigate life with the people that we love, care about, and cherish. So I want to say thank you, Kenya, for the lecture. Yay!
Totally. Thank you.